Very Bad Wizards is a podcast with a philosopher, my dad, and a psychologist, Dave Pizarro, having an informal discussion about issues in science and ethics. Please note that the discussion contains bad words that I'm not allowed to say, and knowing my dad, some very inappropriate jokes.
There are other things that need to be taken into account here, like the whole spectrum of human emotion. You can't just lump everything into these two categories and then just deny everything else.
The great boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.
Welcome to Very Bad Wizards. I'm Tamler Summers from the University of Houston. Dave, a Penn State professor, was charged recently for having sex with his dog near the restrooms at Rothrock State Forest. Wait, so that's illegal?
Dude, I'd forgotten about I forgot about this. Yes, it is illegal. I mean, I'm sure there are Peter Singer-style arguments that it shouldn't be, as long as, eating meat is.
You can verify consent, which I think we've talked about in an earlier episode, how you would go about trying to assess that.
Feels like early Very Bad Wizards discussions,
Yeah.
But the saddest part to me was I don't remember exactly what I read or what he said or whatever, but I got the vibe but wait, let me explain kind of thing from the professor.
He said, I do it to blow off steam. He said,
oh, yeah. That's not helping.
No, like
you should do it because you're under duress, you should be like, the mafia told me that unless I fucked my dog. But he's like, no, come on. Who among us hasn't wanted to blow up?
That's a terrible excuse. That doesn't in any way mitigate the responsibility or it's why do something else to blow off steam. Go running, go swimming or something, jerk off to you could even jerk off to some animal porn, I guess.
Yeah, some AI dog porn.
Yeah.
Use a dolly to
yeah.
Wasn't he also videotaping himself doing it? Because that's one of the things was he got caught because there was a trail cam that somebody checked. But then I think it turns out he was also selfieing the thing for later,
It's a collie.
It's a poor collie.
Is it a collie?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty, but not my.
They were trying to hurt his dick.
Not my jam in particular, but
Try to have sex with a pit bull.
I know.
Is there any follow-up? Is he going to get fired? Is this a lose tenure kind of thing?
He's on leave, I think, is the last that we've heard about it. He's 64. I think this means it's time to retire,
I think this means he's had an ongoing relationship with his dog, and who are we to judge,
That's something that I will write down and perhaps use in my own defense, my own case.
If you ever get caught, people are going to be like, he's been joking about this shit too much.
I know.
I knew it.
But why would I joke about it if I was really doing it, right? Why?
Right.
Does that sound like somebody who's actually doing it? I don't think so. I mean, do you? I don't.
Jokes aside for a second, is it something that you think somebody should lose? So I assume it's clearly illegal, right? There's probably something about mistreating animals. But suppose that he, was seen kicking his dog. He probably wouldn't lose tenure for that.
Right.
But I bet you this is a tenure loss offense. Data fabrication.
Right.
Sex with the dog.
That's the irony, is that an act of violence towards his dog would be fine, but an act of love. Here's what I think about it. I don't think you can teach as a professor in the age of the internet if you were caught having sex with your dog. And
Right. So
just
it might-
for that
yeah.
reason, like, you know, you have to make the guy, you know, because otherwise every student is going to know about this. Like, there's no student that's going to take this class. It's Penn State, a state college. It's not a big town, you know.
Right,
Like,
right.
This will be
yeah.
a story. This will be on Rate My Professors. This will be on. You just
That
have to, like,
sucks.
this is a good sign that it's time to, you know, the final chapter of your life is beginning now.
Like do some consulting work. you know,
Sure.
Like take.
What field is he in?
I forgot. I was about to ask you what. Yeah. I genuinely feel bad for him because you're right. Like there is. Right, obviously, people have been accused of literal child abuse and rape at Penn State and probably gotten off with less consequences.
What is it about that, like, state college? What the fuck is wrong with these people? They're fucked up.
You know, not everybody's. You're right about the students. Like, you know, there was a professor at University of Toronto who, you know, connected his laptop to the projector and there was porn on it. And he just like apologized and moved on. And I think that's all that happened. It is a case though, where the kind of porn that was up there would have like a huge role in whether or not you could just move on.
If it's just like threesome, you know.
Right.
Nice.
If it's like in the top 50 categories, you know.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, but you can move forward and have a continued career. But this is just, you know, like, and I wonder if, like, in 1984, could you have that? Like, I don't know.
Interesting that you picked that year, Tamler. I bet you there's some things that you could just never do. I bet you there are some things that that haven't actually declined. And we've had the same standard.
Oh God, he begged the Rangers to shoot him at one point.
Oh yeah, that is sad.
That's sad.
Cut out like 30% of the jokes I made.
So this is not. I think I, for a second, was under the impression that this is our opening segment, but it's not. What is our opening segment?
Well, I tried to segue, but you weren't paying
that.
attention. Yeah.
Yes.
We are talking about a paper that just came out in Nature, Andrew Mastriani and Dan Gilbert, called The Illusion of Moral Decline. So this is, for those who don't know, Nature is it's a big deal. So this is getting a lot of press. So what they do is they document something that I think we all probably knew, which is that people are always complaining that the world is in moral decline. And I think this part is kind of impressive. They look through tons and tons of survey data. We'll get into what exactly in the survey data they were looking at. But for now, 70 years of data across multiple countries and hundreds of questions. And they do show that people seem to believe, no matter when you ask them, if you just ask them straight up, like, is the world getting worse? They say yes. So here's where the tricky part comes in. They then say, right, because one possibility is just that people are right. Like, it's just actually been in steady decline. But the sexier claim that they make is that this isn't actually explained by the fact that the world is really getting worse. They want to argue that this is just an error of judgment, hence the word illusion in the title. And they say that we make this error of judgment for a couple of reasons. One is that we just notice negative information more, like the news covers shitty stuff. So we're constantly bombarded with bad news about the world around us. And that combined with another bias, which is that in our memory, we kind of launder our memories. Like we're more likely to remember positive things than negative things. So because of that, we're constantly thinking that things are getting worse. So they do a few studies. They make heavy use of survey data for one set of studies. And then they move on to MTurk and Prolific, where they're asking people to report specific questions that they've asked. And like I can go through the summary, but why don't we just start from talking there? Tam, what did you think of the paper?
I think this is honestly like idiotic. Like, I think this is really embarrassing. And look, I might even like think that it's true that people are always thinking that morality is on the decline. And maybe for some of the reasons that they say, but I don't even know how to fully conceptualize the question of, but is that an illusion or are they tracking something? It's like there's a section in this paper called "Is Morality Actually Declining?"
Because that's critical for their hypothesis, right? They have to show that people are being their Chicken Little, and that world actually isn't declining.
And that's why it's an illusion. The idea that you're going to, in a small section of a paper, establish that morality is still just plugging along roughly the same. People are no more or less moral than they were 50 years ago. Not that they measure 50 years ago, as the Scott Alexander guy points out in his critique of this. A lot of their stuff is focused on, from the early 2000s to now. And I think when people say, as he points out, that morality is declining, they don't mean since since the Iraq War, morality is declining. They're comparing it to some sort of past that's probably pre-internet, pre-heavy tech and, deindustrialization. But they're probably not thinking since, I remember how moral everybody was in the early 2000s. So that's number one. Number two, how the fuck are you going to measure whether morality is declining or not? That's a fundamental philosophical question. You would have to know, what are the correct moral views? What's the right kind of moral behavior? And are people doing more of those things or less of those things than they used to? Now, they do pick a couple things like violent crime and stuff like that, but this is something that people don't necessarily agree about, fundamental parts of morality. So the idea that you're going to get some sort of objective measure of whether morality has declined or not is, and as much as I don't like the Steven Pinker way of trying to establish this, and the question begging aspects of what he does and whatever this is ridiculous. This is moronic, the way they try to go about doing this. But as you say, it is a fundamental part of why this paper is getting a lot of attention.
So I as somebody who considers himself the moral psychologist, it just immediately raises some flags to me that they both on the perception side, where you ask is the world getting worse, and more critically on is the world actually getting worse, that they gloss over any kind of definition of morality. And yeah, I'll bring up right now something that Mastroianni says in his blog post, where he tries to defend this against this critique. He says, no, look, we just got what people in general would agree about. So let's move on. So we're talking about being nice to each other. Can you trust people? Were you treated with respect all day yesterday? Obviously, those are things that people consider part of morality and everybody agrees on it. So we're not talking about gay marriage or whatever. But it importantly turns on all that other stuff that people disagree about, right? Because it very well could be that a reasonable person has a complete disagreement, as Scott Alexander points out, about whether or not objectively things have gotten worse. And you can't just pick the things everybody agrees on and make a claim that this is enough evidence to show that the world isn't actually declining. Because if I don't even think about drone warfare as being bad,
right?
It doesn't even enter my mind. But I do agree that being kind to your neighbor is important. Now we have two. You could measure two things. One, do I think that being kind to your neighbor is moral? And another, do I think that drone warfare is moral? I would probably tell you, the answer to number two is probably more important when it comes to my estimate of whether the world is a better place. But they don't do that. They don't make the effort of even doing something like saying, we got 1,000 people from 20 different countries and we just ask them, what do you think is what makes the world a moral place versus an immoral place?
Right.
They don't bother to do that.
They don't gesture at any of that. They don't even think that's necessary.
And that hand wavy part, combined with the confidence with which they're making their claims, is something that does really get to me. This comes from
actual paper, not the blog, which I do want to get to. At the end of that section, they say, the subjective measures we analyzed are not definitive, of course, but they strongly suggest that the widespread perception of moral decline is an illusion. Moreover, studies that use the rare objective measures of changes in everyday moral behavior, just that's rare, is exactly the problem, right? Suggests the same thing. For example, Juan et al. Showed that rates of cooperation in the prisoner's dilemma game have increased significantly between 1956 and 2017. Like that's like that is not an objective measure of fucking morality. Like that's fucking insane that you would put that in as like your concluding paragraph of this section. It's just
10% greater increase, 10% increase in prisoner's dilemma in the lab, Tamler. I mean, there's no way you're going to tell me that might be explained by people learning about game theory at a higher rate and therefore acting slightly better.
No, it's just that people have gotten a lot more cooperative, like over the years. You know, like this is a sociological question and an ethical question and a philosophical question. This is not a question for these kinds of methods. And the idea that you're going to get there and just throw some numbers around and run some studies and do the things just shows, like, when I get really frustrated about the state of social psychology and a lot of the quantitative social sciences, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, and experimental philosophy for that matter. And to a bad end, too, because if it was just a bullshit result, who cares? But, like, there's a kind of agenda here also that this is trying to support. And that's what makes this like slightly, I guess, insidious.
So let me just say like a couple of things that I just want to get out there. One is their use of all of those surveys across 70 years, across all of those countries, is really impressive. Like, I can't think of another way to ask and answer the question, do people think the world is getting worse? I think they did a good job with that. Like, I don't know of anybody who's done anything like that for that question. And it's true that question has been asked a bunch in these like surveys of people's thoughts. So that part, all that said, this here's what bugs me. One of the things, the amount of effort that they clearly put into like analyses and collecting these data and making the case with their numbers seems so disproportionate to the amount of conceptual analysis that this requires. Yeah. Like, if they had just spent some more time, as Scott Alexander says, if you had just made this a paper about honesty and kindness, and then you had asked people, how honest and kind do you think, is the world getting worse at that? And then asked them, and then just looked at answers about how honest and kind are people now, and shown that discrepancy. It wouldn't.
But how would you even establish that people have gotten more honest or less honest or more kind and less kind? Like how do you?
Here's though. I mean, it's hard. I don't think you can. But here's at least an honest attempt which is one of the methods they use. You could ask people, are people getting less honest? And then look at what they say. If people say like, yes, the world is totally getting less honest. And then compare that every year to just the question, how honest are people? And see whether that answer changes. That's like one strategy that they do use for the question of morality, but it would be slightly more convincing if they were just looking at a specific thing like that.
Another way they do it is to say, like, were people kind to you today or something like that. Which is, again, like, people, it's totally consistent to believe that, I live in this nice kind of neighborhood where people are nice to me, but I think overall kindness has gone down. If you do the kind of conceptual analysis and philosophical and methodological, like, critical thinking that you would need, you would just say, oh, wait, we can't establish in a fucking Nature paper whether morality has declined or not. And then you would just junk it. You would just not do that part. And you would focus all on the question of, why do people continually think that morality is declining? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I was saying to you offline, I think it would be, it's very weird that they didn't just go to a bunch of statistics like Pinker style, where they're like, okay, infant mortality is down, charitable donations are up, like, whatever, poverty, whatever it is that Pinker argues, at least Pinker is arguing with whatever data he can get his hands on and just showing, right? So like show a graph about violent crime rates across the world and map that onto what people actually think is going on. Like there is a very interesting finding, and this is, I'll say I've been working on a paper with my grad student on a very similar idea. There are findings out there that show that if you ask people, has violent crime gone up or down? Like every year people say it's gone up, and for at least a good chunk of that time, it's actually going down, right? So people are miscalibrated in at least some specific ways, and I think you can show that. But
yeah, if you do it like that, like with something that actually can be objectively measured. Now, that doesn't mean you don't know what the causes of violent crime increasing or decreasing is. It's not necessarily that people have gotten more or less moral, but that is something that's objective. You can measure it, and then you can fight about the causes of it and how to interpret those results. But this is a non-starter because like we don't agree about what morality is. If you think like loneliness, mental health, and climate change are like key parts of like a good life, then morality definitely has declined, you know? But they don't ask about that, like, because this is the thing. And this is like, I don't know, maybe to wrap up, unless you have more to talk about.
Well, I want you to get a chance to talk about the blog post. Yeah.
I think here's where you see the agenda here. So this is this guy, Adam Mastrione's blog, a more folksy write-up, pop-sci write-up of these results. So the section is, please allow me to watch Paddington 2 in peace. This paper was born out of spite. For my whole life, I've listened to my whole life. I've since he was 7 years old, he's listened to people bemoan the demise of human goodness. Used to be you could trust a man's word. Back in the day, you didn't have to lock your doors at night. People don't care for one another anymore, etc. This drives me nuts. I get worked up about this because these claims actually matter. If you really think that people are less kind than they used to be, you are alleging a disaster. Moral decline would be very, very bad. Morality is the glue that holds our society together. If that glue disappears, our society is falling apart. So if that's happening, we should do something about it right away. But if it isn't, instead of shouting fire in a crowded theater, you should zip your lips so we can all watch Paddington 2 in peace. So the idea here is, leave me alone. I don't want to feel like there are moral problems in the world. I just want to watch my shit and go about like my business as a very privileged member of society. I don't want to hear that there's actually like stuff that's wrong with the world if there really isn't. And that's like a really, I don't know, like it represents something larger, an attitude among the elites here that kind of matches what people worry about them. This is what people fear about the elites, is that they're just a bunch of fucking fat cats that are just happy with how things are going because it's going great for them. He loves Paddington too, and so and he's like Harvard grad, Columbia postdoc or whatever, and like just let them enjoy that in peace because everything's fine. Now in the paper, there's something like equally ridiculous on this front, I think. This is in the discussion section. With that said, the illusion of moral decline seems to be a robust phenomenon that may have troubling consequences. For example, in 2015, 76% of U.S. Americans agreed that addressing the moral breakdown of the country should be a high priority for their government. The United States faces many well-documented problems, from climate change and terrorism to racial injustice and economic inequality, and yet most U.S. Americans believe their government should devote scarce resources to reversing an imaginary trend. Like, what are they talking about? What are him and Gilbert talking about? Like, is the government like spending $2 trillion on like a giant morality ray that can zap people to make them more moral and reverse the decline? Like, what resources are the issue here? You ask people, like, should the government like have it be a priority that people are more moral? they don't mean like $75 billion to like a moral character training, like national required course or something like that. But this is the kind of stuff that's just tossed off.
And the last couple sentences say, if low morality is a cause for concern, then declining morality may be a veritable call to arms, and leaders who promise to halt that illusory slide to, quote unquote, make America great again, as it were, may have outsized appeal. Our studies indicate that the perception of moral decline is pervasive, perdurable, unfounded, and easily produced. Achieving a better understanding of this phenomenon would seem a timely task. So, look, you're right. Like, people aren't spending tons of money for to combat moral decline. It could be that what they're arguing is that people are spending a lot of energy and time in the media trying to combat what they think is like, like look at all the anti-pride energy that goes into this from the conservatives. Like you look at all of the efforts that they're trying to do to like remove whatever books about race in the libraries. This is all because they are claiming that our children are being ruined by bad stuff, which fine. Like I agree that that's actually a waste of time because I don't believe that those things are broad, but clearly if that's what they believe, then you should have put those measures into your fucking study. Because
it's not an illusion for them. Like gay people can get married now.
Yeah,
there are like that. That's like for them. Like they're responding to something completely real, not illusory. Right?
Yeah, there aren't anti-target campaigns to not be polite to each other. Right? Like
you'd be like, no, it's an illusion because like people are more cooperative on prisoners' dilemmas, and they'd be like, yeah, but it used to be that like marriage was between a man and a woman, and like women were, spending more time. Like those aren't the measures of morality. If they were, then morality would have declined a lot.
Yeah, I feel like they just removed whatever credibility they might have had for their limited findings by revealing their hand, that this was what they were trying to show all along. Which look, the view that this is just the like elites making Harvard grads or Harvard professors making a claim about I have no sense that that's like what's driving this or that that's what it's promoting. Like I just think that it's dividing the country even more.
He wants to watch Paddington 2 in peace.
I think it's divisive. I think our science should at least try to be objective. And as Scott Alexander points out, right, we have the moral foundation stuff that has been saying this for years, that morality is broader than what liberals think it is.
Right.
And so that to me is a slap in the face, right? Like there's been so much ink spilled about this.
Yeah, the Alan Fisk's like moral framework stuff, all of that stuff is dismissed in the blog post by first a note to the pedants. This is the section heading. First, a note to the pedants. You independently texted me about this.
Yeah.
You might be thinking, morality, that's a loaded term. ! People can use that word to mean a lot of things. As Hegel says, let me stop you right there. This is so smug. This is smugness personified. He goes, let me stop you right there. You're right, but fortunately, none of the results I'm about to show you depend on using that particular word. You can, of course, use words to mean anything you want, blah, 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 blah. When pollsters asks people for examples of moral decline, the most frequent answers are people don't treat each other with respect, things that we can all agree are bad. Okay, goodbye, pedants, onward to the science. It doesn't address any of the concerns here, and it just is,
As I read this, okay, goodbye, pedants, I'm like, well, that's dismissive because I could have been on your side about a lot of this stuff, and now my number one concern about your paper is being dismissed by calling me a pedant and then telling me onward to the science as if like my science is not like up to snuff. Like let me tell you what the actual science is. It is, it's the worst kind of empirical arrogance where you're like, I don't care about your silly philosophy. Like I'm here to show you free will doesn't exist. Exactly what you said, right?
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
There's a funny footnote There's a footnote in the Scott Alexander thing, and it's like he just throws it in there. It's an old tweet from 2011 by Stephen Cass. Why idly theorize when you can just check, all caps, and find out the actual answer, all caps, to a superficially similar sounding question, scientifically, all caps. That's what it is. That is the attitude. Like, we could speculate as to why people think that morality is declining. We could speculate as to whether morality is actually declining, but let's actually look to the science to tell us and stop just speculating from our armchair. But the 10%. Superficially similar sounding question is exactly right. And it's
10% prisoner's dilemma, cooperation increases, Tamler.
That's
all right, who are you to lie with? Like, who are you to argue against that? Like, Pinker could have just, like, ended his book with that, by the way, bitches. 10% greater cooperation in prisoner's dilemma.
I will say, like, if I didn't think it was possible to get me to appreciate that aspect of Pinker's work, but like this paper does it. It has at least a methodology that like it doesn't just hand wave like the entire time. Yeah. I do think that I don't know if this is an illusion, but there has been a decline in social psych papers. It's like your ass used to be beautiful, you know? Even if it was, like whatever with like Zimbardo setting that experiment up, having like people brutalize each other, like that's fun. Whatever the methodological problems with that was. The Milgram stuff, like dime in a phone booth, making people nicer, like, like it's ridiculous, but it's at least fun.
It's like I said, 7 people p-hacked, but it's fun. I just want, like, why can't I have both? Why can't I have a happy balance here of both?
Go back to not caring about the problems with those things and then just do fun studies, you know?
It's hard when I believe that there's truth to be discovered, Tamler. I have that problem. All right, but I'm with you. Make social psychology great again.
Speaking of, we didn't even mention the connection. First of all, we didn't mention what we're going to be talking about, nor the connection, which is No Country for Old Men is essentially a movie about this phenomenon.
Exactly.
The world has morally gotten away from us.
8 years ago, we would have been on top of this. We would have made the connection early.
All right, we'll be back to talk about No Country for Old Men. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Every so often you come to some moment in life, that moment of truth. You have to make this choice, and it's a big one. It could be about your career, a relationship, family, whatever it is. Your choice is going to have a huge effect on your life and maybe the type of person you're going to become, and it's hard. Sometimes you can feel paralyzed by that choice in the moment. There's not going to be some study that tells you what to do. The situation is too complex, too particular to you for that. Therapy can help you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life and help you not get bogged down in cycles of self-doubt and indecision so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Therapy can be hugely beneficial for learning positive coping skills, how to set boundaries, how to get the self-confidence you need to make those big decisions, come what may. It can empower you to be the best version of yourself. So, if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you need to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So, let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/VBW to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/VBW. Thanks, as always, to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode.
Every time I see you, like the first time I meet you. Fragrance like a flower, subtle and sweet too. Seductive and whatever, it might as well be see-through. Like my genie in a bottle. This could get me rich, look like a magazine model. We Before you know it, he have her on a stroll. Fresh and right, complexion like Acapulco gold. If I had to guess just right, not a day old. Like a cradle robber, copter off shop, a trailer load. Know the right number, you could get her. And hit it while you in the soul to the highest bidder like fruits and berries. Bring daddy loot in a hurry. Just be cute and don't worry. Time to make hallucinate and admit it. Then she started losing weight, letting everybody hit it. Unlike Allie, sometimes she get bitter. Always kept me happy, never had a problem with her. Always kept me happy, never had a problem with her.
Welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. This is the time of the episode where we like to take a moment and thank all the people who get in touch with us, who interact with us, who email us, tweet at us, join in the various communities. If you would like to do that, you can email us at verybadwizards@gmail.com. You can tweet to us at Peas, at Tamler, at Very Bad Wizards. We don't have a fucking Threads thing. I don't know. I'm waiting that out to see if it's real. I don't totally buy it, but we'll see. You can follow us on Instagram. You can like us on Facebook, and you can join the Reddit community and participate in the lively conversation, which is mostly just people shitting on me for all sorts of fucking bullshit. Just the worst. I got to get off there. Not good for me. But I don't know. You crossed the line. Congratulations. Whatever. Anyway, you can also subscribe to us on Spotify. That always helps the podcast grow. And if you really want to be nice, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We love those. Pizarro was just texting me one of our most recent reviews, which was just woke enough. And he said that could be a tagline for our podcast. I agree. So thanks. And if you'd like to support us in more tangible ways, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. You can give us a one-time or recurring donation on PayPal. You can buy some swag. All of this is at the Very Bad Wizards support page. You can become one of our beloved Patreon supporters, and there's a bunch of different tiers. At just $1 an episode, so $2 a month, you will get all ad-free episodes, plus all the volumes of David's Beats Without Rhyme series. And he just put out last week the 7th volume. So there's 7 whole volumes of Pizarro's beats, always phenomenal. At $2 and up per episode, you get all of our bonus content. Tons of bonus episodes, and both archived, and we have a ton of stuff coming up right now. We just dropped an Inland Empire episode, which I thought was actually pretty good. You get early access to David and Paul Bloom's podcast series, Psych, which just wrapped up their first season, I'm told. First season. I'm on my way out. Well, it was a good run. What are you going to do? But you can also get the first episode of my new mini-series with Robert Wright called Overton Windows, where we examine the acceptable range of discourse for various topics, policy issues, and how that acceptable range changes over time. We're going to release our first episode of Overton Windows next week, and the topic is Israel-Palestine. Oh, man. At $5 and up, you get access to our mini-series on the Brothers Karamazov, a whole video series of intro to psych lectures by David, a couple lectures on Plato's Symposium by me, and you get to vote on our Patreon listener-selected episode. And we just put out a call for topic suggestions a couple of days ago. So we're going to get a ton of suggestions. We'll narrow it down to a list of finalists, and then the $5 and up supporters will get to vote on what topic we do, and those are always really fun episodes. Finally, at the highest tier that we have, $10 and up, you get all of that, plus you can ask a question for our monthly Ask Us Anythings, which are always very fun, and we will answer all those questions in a video episode, an audio episode, and we release the audio version for our bonus episode tier listeners, too. Thank you so much for all your support and interactions, except probably those Reddit motherfuckers, or fuck it, them too. Who cares? Let's get to No Country for Old Men. All right, let's get to our main segment for today, No Country for Old Men, the 2007 movie from the Coen brothers. This was the movie that kind of brought them back. They do Big Lebowski, and then after that, they do Intolerable Cruelty, which is a movie that's not good. It's one of the very few Coen Brothers movies that just I don't think is good at all. And then the next one I didn't even see because everyone seemed to agree that it wasn't good. Their remake of The Lady Killers. Did you ever see that?
No, I haven't seen either of those two.
Yeah.
I completely forgot they even existed, to be honest.
You know, when you have a track record like them, they're just consistent excellence. You know, they needed something, I think, to bring them back to like, oh, we can just do one of these mid-budget movies whenever we want. And this was the movie. Adapted from the Cormac McCarthy novel, which I've read and reread recently. You didn't, right? You've never read it?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
2005 novel. It was their first adaptation. It's very faithful to the book, both faithful in terms of the plot structure and even faithful in terms of some of the odd details in the movie, and also just faithful to the mood of the novel and the mood of Cormac McCarthy in general. Have you read Cormac McCarthy at all?
No, it's funny though. I've been meaning to, and I actually bought The Road like a month ago or something with the plan of reading it on a trip, and I didn't get around to it. And then he just died.
Yeah, maybe he would still be alive today if you had read The Road. You know, it's great. By the way, I read The Road on a trip. I can remember reading that. I was going to the Keys to dive with my wife. She had never dived before, and I was reading The Road during that trip, and it's really good. I've read that. I've read No Country. I've read, and I love, this is my favorite of what I've read, All the Pretty Horses. And then I read the other two in the Border trilogy, The Crossing. To my shame, I've never read Blood Meridian, but I like that. I feel like this summer now I'm going to read it because I've read like the first 70 pages, and then not because it's not good, but because it's definitely a book that requires like your full attention.
Right.
Like I just stopped and then yeah.
And nowadays, I rarely give my full attention to anything. That's why I wanted to start reading again, because it really does you get out of shape.
Yeah.
You get out of like full attention shape.
It's like push-ups. Like, you know, like totally. You start, you're doing it, and then you're like, but then if I go back to it now, I'll be still, you know, like I was doing like 3 sets of 25, and now I'll be doing like struggling to get to 15. You know? Yeah. That's the way to do it. How you did it, just a dedication to reading. Anyway, this movie won the Academy Award for Best Picture. The only time they've done that. Anton Chigurh won Best Supporting Actor. Roger Deakins did not win for Best Cinematography, although this is the same year as There Will Be Blood. So I hope he won, the person who did that.
I don't know. Who did There Will Be Blood win other things? Did Daniel Day-Lewis win for that?
I think so. Again,
I don't know. It's very weird that they came out the same year. Like
they were shooting at the same time.
Oh, I know. They were like, there was smoke in the background. I think the Coens were like, what the fuck is going on? And
because they were doing the fire in There Will Be Blood, which we should do someday. Like that is legendary. And in one of my favorite places in the whole world, that West Texas desert area around Marfa. I mean, I don't love Marfa, but that landscape, and then down below that is Big Bend State Park, and then a little to the east is Big Bend National Park, and I love that area. Amazing time to be there, I would imagine.
Can you imagine running into those guys in some little town, like, or all of them? I mean,
Daniel Day-Lewis is having like a pint with
still in character.
Yeah,
because his method.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure, like he probably was.
I'll drink your pint.
Yeah, I was like, okay. This was a big hit. I think it made a good amount of money. Not a ton, but a good amount for them. And it's so good. You've been wanting to do this movie forever. Like, I know this is one of your all-time favorites.
Yeah, I was telling you off air, like every time I watch it, it keeps climbing up my list. And for so many reasons. It's just a rare movie where it's hard to find anything really done wrong, like done poorly. Yeah. The cinematography, the acting, the acting. Like there is such good acting here. And it's really not, it's not in your face. It's subtle.
No, it's not flashy at all.
No.
Even Chigurh.
Even Chigurh, yeah. Who was the first time I watched it, I'll admit, like the Chigurh character was too weird for me. Like it felt so out of place, that weirdness, that I could, like that it kind of focalized my attention in a way that it shouldn't have for the film. And so like it's the second time, the third time I was like, oh man, it's
not like a Joker from Batman kind of character where it's so charismatic. Its evilness is really fun. It's not exactly like that, but it's also not fully not like that.
Right.
You know?
Right. Like the flipping of the coins and the odd haircut and the pale face. Like there's a lot that's, yeah.
And I didn't know Javier Bardem before this. Like, so this is a totally new person, as far as I'm concerned, like watching it the first time, and just his accent and it's really well done. In
the novel, if I'm recalling correctly from what I read, it's completely unspecified where he's from.
Completely, yeah.
He just said, I read that he just picked the name because it sounded cool. Like it had like a vibe to it. Like there's no etymology. Like
right. Yeah. Yeah. That which makes sense. It really I feel like the performance captures. Now I did read the book, I think, for the first time after I saw the movie. So, probably that. But I feel like at least reading the book, it captured him, and most of the dialogue is straight out of the book.
Right.
Ethan Coen described writing the screenplay as I would hold open the book and read aloud, and Joel would start typing.
It's amazing that that's exactly what I do for my publications. What you were alluding to, the capturing the emotional tone of the book. I haven't read the book, but whatever that emotional tone is, which I don't know how to describe. It's some sort of fatalism and some sort of dread, dread of evil, especially Tom Lee Jones's character, and his response to what's going on is just like a great sort of like living in the face of great evil. Like what does that do to somebody? And
that you can't fully understand. Like
exactly
his
grappling. You can see
thing.
him trying. Yeah. He's trying. He's really trying to understand what's happening. And part of that is he's trying to reach back to the old ones for wisdom, and it's not getting him where he needs. And he is pretty much going to give up. He's just giving up. He's like, I can't understand this anymore. Like this world is something I can't understand anymore.
So I quit.
Yeah. And then I guess we'll talk about this more, but I think he's, I think part of what's going on is everybody as they age at some point thinks that the world is really terrible. And he even tells stories about how terrible the world was back then. And it's like he's missing that, it's not that this is, that evil is grander now than it used to be. It's just you're getting old.
So that's what in the scene with Ellis at the end.
Yeah.
That's kind of the upshot of that conversation where he says, "Do you know how your Aunt Mac died?" or somebody, and it was just the same kind of
almost like Llewellyn,
soulless murder, But yeah, no, I think if the book has a stance, it's this has always been with us. If anything, it might be tied to America because there's, Ellis says, this country does bad things to people. And so maybe it might be tied to America, but not tied to certainly this specific time. On the other hand, there is something about Chigurh and the bleak nihilism of his character and the kind of soullessness of what he does, and the soullessness even of his weapons, right?
Yeah.
That does also give the impression, oh, wait, this is something, if not new, then different from the ordinary thing. This is different than the Woody Harrelson being a hitman who just kills people for money, or the Mexicans and the Americans doing a violent drug deal. This is some new thing. So there's also that element of it that has those two things be in tension. Maybe it's not just that you're old and now you're scared of the world. Maybe there is something new. And I feel that's where I am with this. I don't know. Sometimes it does seem just today I was texting you, they uncovered this ring of people putting out monkey torture videos, commissioning and then distributing these videos of people torturing monkeys. And it's that. How do you do this? What what kind of a person, like what, like I don't, like you can't wrap your mind around how there could be a market for this stuff. And I know people did fucked up things, like way more fucked up than I can imagine in the Crusades or whatever, and the Spanish Inquisition and all of that. But it just, there is something where it's like, this isn't just like sick people in power, like perverted Roman emperors. This is like, I don't know, like there's it's like you feel that there's a mood in the air of something that is, it just makes you, like your skin crawl.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It reminds me, this could be totally wrong and I could be misremembering, but if I recall in Genesis when it's talking about humans before the flood, when God looks around and says like, this shit is bad, that the word isn't quite evil the way that we use it, but it has this connotation of like an evil imagination where they're like being creative with their bad, you know, like it's an evil creativity. And that's the feeling that you get, which is like, whoa. Yeah.
How do you even think of this? Like, never mind, like want to do it.
So the other thing that I think makes me like this movie so much, I recently watched a video essay about modernism, postmodernism, and metamodernism, and it gave No Country for Old Men as an example of a good sort of postmodern nihilistic film. And then when it was introducing metamodernism, something that I think we didn't talk about in our regular episode, but we mentioned in our Ask Us Anything, we had a conversation about what metamodernism is, and it adds back sincerity where there was only like sarcasm and irony before. It's an attempt at that. And I like the old ways. I like the nihilism of this movie. Like I like feeling that feeling that it gives me. And I like that it is so it's a gift. Like given our episode on interpreting art, this to me is like the Coen brothers handing me like a really yummy meal. They're just giving us a bunch of open-ended things to discuss and interpret and talk about. And it's full of symbolism. It's full of details. Yeah. And it seems as if maybe they have an answer in mind, but they certainly aren't going to tell us what that answer is. And maybe Cormac McCarthy has an answer. I don't know if the book is a bit more, if the book gives as much open-endedness of a feel as the movie. But that's what I like. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question, whether it does or not. I do think it doesn't support certain interpretations that maybe we'll talk about, like the Fight Club interpretation that Chigurh is just Moss's alter ego. But because the book is told even more clearly from the sheriff's perspective than the idea of Chigurh more as something that he's conjuring up versus somebody that we should take fully literally and real, is it might even be more alive in the book than the movie. Yeah.
That's super interesting because with film, like I can imagine the challenge. You know, you could have voiceover for the whole thing where you know that it's all from the sheriff's perspective, but they weren't going to do that in this movie. So you have to have you just have to have scenes where Chigurh is alone with other people. So like, what else are you going to do? Right. You can't have like the sheriff looking over.
No, you can't have this all taking place like with him, with his head kind of superimposed
like
over all of
Brady
it.
Bunch looking down on them, Alice.
No. But I don't think the book, it leaves it open. I don't think the book is suggesting that at all. Because I say it's from his perspective, it's because he has these interludes of italicized like reflections that are distributed throughout the whole book, and that we get the first one in the monologue at the beginning of the movie, but I think that's it. Whereas in the book, it's throughout the whole movie. It ends the book, but then in between those things is the action, which is told in third person, and it's not necessarily that the sheriff is imagining it. At least that's how I read it. It's really good. I think you would like the book. Like a lot of this period, McCarthy, also, you can read it in a few days, like at most. Anyway, the movie.
Yeah. So what do you like? Where we talked a little bit before, but where does this rank up there? Like how?
So I wouldn't call this one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's fucking awesome, though. Certainly up there with my favorite Coen Brothers movie. I'm not sure I would put it above Fargo and The Big Lebowski, but I also could change my mind about that at the end of this conversation. And the thing I love about it, number one, it just their craft in this is like A plus 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 plus.
They're at their powers are at their prime.
Yeah, this is peak Coen Brothers, just knowing how to film an action scene or a suspenseful scene. And then also the thing that I love about it is that a lot of it is shot in Marfa, or in and around Marfa, Texas. That West Texas area is one of my favorite places in the whole world. And I started going there only during COVID. My daughter and I started going there every year to like camp, to Big Bend National Park and State Park. And like, there is something about that landscape that does something to me that I don't even know what it is, but I feel I always knew that I would like it just from seeing like Westerns where that area was depicted, and then got there and it was exactly like, it was more than what I thought. And I think the Coen Brothers, like just the opening of this movie, it's almost photographic with Tommy Lee Jones's monologue, the sheriff. It's just so beautiful and like captures what I love about that area and the feel of it so perfectly. There's a kind of bleakness, but there's also an absolute beauty, and it's just the space, the freedom of the space there is something that I think it gets at both the terrifying aspect of that, but also just the unfathomably beautiful part of that too.
When Ella says this country's hard on people or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. It seemed ambiguous to me whether he was referring to the country, the United States, or this country, as in like this land. This area.
This landscape. This
Yeah.
desert landscape.
Yeah.
I think so that he's referring to the country. In the book, they make more of a deal out of just America's sins. That this could be kind of part of America's sins. This is what it culminates in. A person like Chigurh. It doesn't hit that. It's not on the nose.
By the way, one of the things that I think makes this movie powerful for me is the lack of a score. And when you were talking about the landscape, it was reminding me of Tarkovsky not like shooting the landscapes and not having any music. Like there is something very emotional about the silence with those shots. And I think it's ballsy to shoot without music.
Yeah.
You can't manipulate emotions in that easy way when you have the music.
No, it has a little underlying thing that could just be diegetic sound.
Yeah.
It could just be, it's like, it's in that way, like Stalker, like you said, it has certain things that you think are part of the world, but then if you really listen, it's actually something going on.
There's like a hum. There's a hum at points.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a little hum. There was a guy like Carter Burwell. He's he's worked with them a lot. I think it's like really effective in this movie. It just captures these people are alone, and how they feel and what they do is up to them. It has that kind of effect. I think it's like there's nothing telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Here.
And the desert landscape is, if you're familiar with the desert at all, I grew up not far from the desert, like far enough east in California that we were probably in the desert, but it was irrigated. But all you had to do was drive like 30 minutes and you're just in desert. And it is danger. Like if you're out there and you don't know what you're doing, like it is very dangerous. Like it's a bad place to be. So even when he's out there in the beginning scene when Llewellyn is hunting, I'm like, I hope he knows where he's going. Like, I hope he is. That he had no water with him freaked me out. Like,
that freaks me out. not having water stresses me out.
You got to respect the desert, you know? You got to, yeah.
Yeah. We should, I guess, get into it. So, yeah, there's this opening monologue. You know, here's this sheriff. He's from the small town of Sanderson, Texas, which has a population of under 1,000 people. He feels like there's this new kind of bad guy, like an evil in the world, and he doesn't understand it, and he doesn't want to meet. He says, I don't want to go meet something I don't understand. And as this is happening, you just get the Chigurh opening sequence. Him getting arrested, we don't know for what. And
that's right.
Him getting out.
And we don't see, they do a good job of like a, monster movie style. You don't see him. You see like the weird haircut. You see him from behind. He's getting arrested. And then when you finally see him in the sheriff's office sitting in the back, it really is like a third man scene where he pops out of the shadows and you see him full on for the first time right before he attacks and kills the sheriff. And then whatever he's doing in that scene as he's looking up at the ceiling as he's choking the guy is crazy. It's just like, hello, I'm an insane fucking psychopath.
The dark comedy of this movie is just also put front and center. Like the deputy, who's a nice enough guy, but he's describing it like probably to the sheriff of that town. And, he had a hose. He's describing the oxygen tank that run down his sleeve. And he's like, don't worry, I got it under control. And meanwhile, you're just watching Chigurh come from behind him with the handcuffs to strangle
slowly
him.
had slipped his hands underneath his legs.
Yeah. It's just so freaking, it's funny. Like, it's actually kind of funny in this bleak way. And I would say, like, the movie does that at times, but very sparingly. A lot of times, the violence doesn't have that kind of ironic Coen brothers kick to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of incredible to me as an offhand comment that these are the same people who made movies like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Or Raising Arizona, although there are a couple scenes that are very much like Raising Arizona in this.
So then we see Chigurh on the long desert road pulling over a driver in the cop car that he stole. And I remember the first time I saw this being so confused about what had just happened. I was like, what is that thing? Like, what a weapon. What a creative weapon.
I think it's like an invention of Cormac McCarthy's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think like you could actually do that, but I think it's it leaves no trace. It has no, I don't know, there's a romance about like bullets and like his weapons, even when he uses an actual shotgun, like the way it sounds, the way this thing sounds, it's like, this is a different kind of weapon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it has like, it's more chilling somehow. Yeah. Just because it leaves no trace. It just like pops a hole in their head and then comes back.
And what's crazy is I think that this scene is the only person he actually kills with that.
Is that right?
I think so. It's crazy, right?
That's crazy. I would have thought, he killed. It's true. He uses it more to blow doorknobs.
Yeah. He blows doorknobs. He threatens the guy at the Texaco.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. It's so funny because it is one of those things that's just imprinted on your brain when you watch it.
Yeah. The calmness with which he kills is chilling. It's a very good portrayal of like a chilling killer like that, like a cold. He's just asking the guy, can you just put your hands down? Like, and then he just kills him. And part of the feeling is that I get when I see Chigurh is, man, he's not even like giving you, these people, he's not giving them explanations. They just die for nothing. Like they don't know why.
I mean, occasionally they'll get a philosophical disquisition, but yeah. No, I agree. I also think these early scenes just give a sense of how overmatched this part of Texas is. And, in that sense, I think you're right. There's something specific about this part of the country because they just don't get this. Like that guy, a guy who's clearly not a deputy comes out of the car and he just gets out and he's like, "What's this about?"
Yeah.
It's like they haven't conceived of somebody like this, and that's the thing that I think Chigurh takes to his advantage so much. It's like they're not prepared for this. They're prepared for a lot of other kinds of attacks, but not this.
Right. The friendliness of the Texans seems puzzling to Chigurh. He's almost like tickled by it. He can't quite understand it. And I think that if you haven't been around people from this part of the country, you might think, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, you might think that the Coens are mocking them somehow, or like belittling them in the same way that I sort of thought they might be mocking the Minnesotans in Fargo and like the way that they talked. But I don't think so. I think they're all given a sort of innocence, like you say, like they can't imagine that somebody would have this kind of evil intentions. And you see it very clearly when he feigns that his car is dead, and the guy pulls over and says, "Hey, neighbor, how can I help you?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is now the hunting scene. We see Llewellyn for the first time, and what's his face, the actor,
Josh Brolin.
Brolin. I love him. I think
he's great in this.
Just great. Yeah. So we see him hunting. He's looking through a scope, shooting deer, I guess. He's very careful. He picks up. He does a shot. He doesn't kill. So he has to go track it. He picks up his casing. This is what leads him to find the scene, where the massacre.
Yeah, so there's just a bunch of pickup trucks and dead bodies, except for one guy who's alive and asks for water. This is all just shot so beautifully. You have this scene of just a tableau of deal gone very wrong, and just dead bodies, dead dogs, or a limping dog.
This is a limping black dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do we think happened here? There was clearly heroin and cash were supposed to be exchanged, and then something went wrong, and a lot of people were killed.
Yeah, I don't know. Like in my head, it's just sort of like a classic Breaking Bad kind of moment where somebody got a little pissed off, and then everybody started open firing, and there was like lots of different kinds of weapons, and he says, "Where's the last guy?" Because he knows he knows there's no money there, and he knows there had to have been money there, and somebody had to have come away from this alive. And the poor guy who has no water, he opens the door, and the guy's clearly dying, like bleeding out. And all he wants is some water. He's just like, "Nope, sorry." And he doesn't even close the door for him when he's afraid of the wolves.
We're already thinking of him as somebody that if this is going to be our protagonist, it's going to be a little harder to root for.
Right. And it is interesting that once he comes on the scene, greed seems to kick in. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't strike me as the kind who would be that callous to somebody, but he knows that there must be money. Yeah. And it's like he gets singularly focused on finding it.
Yeah. And then he's very competently kind of puts himself in the position of this guy. He says okay, he would want to go somewhere, worried that he was going to be shot, but he would go for shade. And then he tracks him and he finds him. And he finds a briefcase, the MacGuffin of the movie.
The MacGuffin, just like a good old fashioned Coen Brothers noir. There is a case of money.
Yeah. And it's what like $2 million?
$2 million. Yeah. And so he takes it. He's taken the guns too. Like he takes this guy's pistol, grabs the case full of money, hides the guns under his trailer, and goes and sees his wife. And their communication, I think, could use some help here.
It's funny because I actually think in the movie it's pretty. You get the sense they're a good couple, even though they're kind of sniping at each other a little bit.
Yeah.
In the book, that makes it even more clear. Like they have a more extended conversation where he's like, "You keep that up, I'll come back there and screw you."
Yeah.
She's, "Can you stay up?" Or he says, "I can stay up to do that." She says, "That's what she said." Like, and I think in the movie you get the sense that he loves her.
Yeah, for sure. I love when she says, "Where'd you get the pistol?" He says, "At the getting place."
Yeah.
There is also, they capture the penchant for sayings that you have in Texas.
Yeah.
There's a saying for everything.
Yeah. I mean, we just say penchant.
Penchant. You say penchant.
But yeah, there's a bunch of good ones like that. Like if this ain't a mess, it'll do until a mess comes, or something like that. Like later in the movie is a great example of that.
Yeah. By the way, the woman who plays the wife is in Boardwalk Empire.
And also Train Spotting.
Oh shit! Really?
She's very good in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little whiny. You know?
Yeah, it's a little
maybe a little whinier than she needs to be. I feel
she seems like it seems like the dynamic is that he married a woman much younger than him. Like she might have like just be a little less mature. It's dark now, right? The events that have unfolded have happened during the day when he was hunting. He goes home. Yeah. It's dark, and he decides to now go back out to take the guy water. Yeah. And it's like, wait, why? Like, what is going on here?
Yes. One of these opportunities for interpretation, right?
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you have any?
So we should say that you posted a video on Twitter a while ago in the context of our Interpreting Art episode. And this guy argued that Llewellyn was actually Chigurh in a Fight Club situation. And one of his big pieces of evidence is some of the incongruities in the otherwise fairly tight story. Like, why is he going back later? I don't know if it's 8 hours later, like he says it is in the video, but it's a good amount of time later. Well, it makes him
the guy was clearly almost dead. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And if he's going to come, why just bring a jug of water and not like other ways of medically treating someone who was shot in the stomach?
Right.
So it is very puzzling. I don't buy that this means he's Chigurh, but his motivations for the most part are they're understandable. He might be in over his head, but like you find $2 million, you're going to probably want to do something with that. Yeah. You're not going to want to just give it back. But this is a bizarre choice on his part that has a bunch of different consequences, like kind of somewhat like good consequences for him, but also bad consequences, certainly bad immediate consequences for him. Yeah. What do you think? I don't really have a good
I don't either. It's a very hard to know what the motivation is, because you can't believe that he actually thinks that he's going to offer comfort to anybody. It could, because one candidate is that he just felt guilty about what an asshole he was. So he's going back out there.
And maybe that's right. He does bring a gallon of water.
Right.
And he does check on the guy.
Yeah. I only thought of this now, but if you're building a case that he's actually Anton Chigurh, one piece of evidence might be that Chigurh explicitly is described as quixotically going back to the scene of his own crimes.
Right.
And so the fact that he's going back out there with, like, how ballsy is that to go back to the scene of your own crime?
It's no more ballsy than going back to the scene of somebody else's crime.
I suppose so. Yeah. But when he goes back, he gets found by, I guess, some other Mexicans looking for the money. Who, they're looming over the hill in these 80s 4x4 trucks with the big old lights. And a pretty scary chase scene ensues. It's in the dark, and he's being chased and shot at, and narrowly escapes by jumping into a little river, and is followed by a dog in a really cool scene. I mean, aside from the dog dying, it's like pretty cool looking. He's just floating down from the current of the river, and the dog is just swimming like a good boy. He's about to do what he's been asked to do.
It's so good the way they film this. Like, you always get a sense of where everybody is, and like him diving into the water and them shooting, and then the dog, they set him free, and he just is like a cannon out into the river, chasing him. And I hate to see a pit bull die. But it is fucking well done.
And so the timing of when the dog is attacking him, he pulls out his pistol, he empties it to clear it out to make sure it will fire properly. He's trying to get the clip back in and load one into the chamber as the dog is running. And he times it just basically the dog jumps at him and he shoots the dog. And the dog still lands on him, but he's killed the dog, and then he runs away.
And the dog, I don't want to get too into this guy's thing, but the way the dog then is dead on the side of the riverbed is exactly the same position, or close to exactly the same position as the dog they find in the later scene, Sheriff and Garrett Dillahunt. They find Wendell, I guess his name is, in
Mr.
this.
Walcott.
That dog looks like almost like the same dog,
Yeah,
So if you want to play this, like, that could be his imagined, like, this is how that dog died, instead of I just mowed them all down,
right? And for the record, I don't think either of us buys that theory, but it's an entertaining video. Like, it's a good, it illustrates what I like about this movie, which is somebody could play with
taken a lot of different directions.
Yeah. Okay. So here we get an incredible scene.
Yeah.
Chigurh just goes to a little Texaco gas station, and he's getting a snack, and he's filling up his car, and the guy behind the counter, who must be a character actor that he's been in a bunch of things, just, as far as I'm concerned, steals the scene, even just with his reactions. Chigurh essentially starts questioning him about how long he's there. It's chilling. He's a chilling guy. So the guy is getting this bad vibe, a bad feeling about Chigurh and what he's up to. The way that Chigurh interrogates people, somebody who was taking the words literally might have a hard time understanding people who speak like that. But he's doing it just to be cold, I guess.
So he makes the most innocent remark about is there rain up in Dallas or something, because he saw him coming from the north. Like, Chigurh just immediately takes offense to that, and once he does that thing. This is a good example. Will there be something else? And he goes, I don't know. Is there?
Yeah.
He will repeat what the person said before him. It's very and they all look just confused. Like, what the fuck? Like, they don't know what this is. They don't get this.
The way it's so funny, like friendo, like the way that he talks.
Yeah.
It's like, Javier Bardem has a fairly heavy Spanish accent. So to hear some of the phrasing come out of his accent is kind of funny. Like,
because he's kind of mocking the guy. This is as much of an asshole as he is when he asks about how they got the place, and then he says, well, it's my wife's father's place, and then he almost cracks up. He's like, so you married into it? And all this is from the book too. And then he's like, well, I guess that's one way of putting it. And he's like, I don't have a way of putting it. That's the way it is. And it's so also masterfully shot.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting tiny bit closer on their faces as all this is going on.
They do that so well, the tightening of shot into face. So here's where we get the scene where he flips a coin and makes him call it. And he doesn't know that what he's doing is playing for his life, but some part of him knows that this is a very bad game to be playing. And he has just this fear in his eyes.
Chigurh says, I can't call it for you. It wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. It's interesting. What are Chigurh's rules?
Yeah, exactly. What is Chigurh's rules and what's his philosophy? Yeah. That's the thing. Maybe we could talk about this now, because he said about the coin, did you see the year? It's 1958. It's been traveling 22 years to get here. Yeah. That's how we know this movie is set in 1980.
Yeah.
And he says, and now it's here and I'm here. And I've got my hand over it. And it's either heads or tails, and you have to call it. What is this that's animating the Chigurh character?
As I've thought about it, like it's hard to find a consistent answer given his actions throughout the movie. But it does seem as if he has some view that fate is a thing, it exists, and what's going to happen is going to happen. And a lot of times it's bad shit that happens. But he's sort of given himself up, excuse me, as the agent of fate. Like he is now almost like, well, there's no control over anything. So like I will be the instrument of fate in this world, which he gets pushback from Carla Jean at the end for this very thing.
What makes him toss the coin? It's almost like he has this deterministic view, and he says, like, we make choices to get where we are, and those choices have led us to this place. But then he also tosses the coin, which could, as in this case, let them off the hook or could kill them. Why do that in this fatalistic, I am the agent of fate kind of view?
The coin toss makes me feel like he is, so if the universe is random, then whether this guy lives or dies should be random. So he's going to let the universe decide by tossing the coin. Although weirdly, then the guy gets to choose whether it's heads or tails.
That's important to Chigurh that he actually calls it. It's almost like you have to play a role in what happens.
It's almost like Chigurh is watching it unfold. Like he just wants to be an observer. Like, let's see what's going to happen now. I'll flip a coin, you call it. What will the universe have decided between those things? Yeah.
But that is inexorable. Like whatever the result of the coin is has to happen.
Yeah.
It's very weird. This is a very weird thing about Chigurh. He has this deterministic, sometimes almost moralistic kind of streak where he's like, you make choices and it leads you to this point. When he says to Woody Harrelson, like, if your rules...
Right. He says, if your rules have led to this, what use are your rules? But is he talking about choices there? Because it could be consistent by saying, like, look, your rules are obviously useless. Like, they haven't really saved you.
And with this guy, this Texaco guy, is he saying that you're just letting life happen to you? That's how you're here in this Texas place. You used to be somewhere else, and now you're here, and it's your mother's thing. Maybe that's what the thing that drove him in this case.
Yeah, right.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
Yeah, maybe.
Like this idea of somebody trying to jog people out of letting life happen to them by doing something violent.
Yeah, I definitely think there is something that he seems very bothered by, that this guy lives the life that he lives.
Yeah. Just politeness. I give this bullshit small talk. Mm-hmm. I live here. I go to bed at 9:30. I close at dark. It's like, you're not an agent. Yeah. And I am going to now make you the ultimate agent.
Which is so weird because he treats destiny and fate as if nobody really, It's a weird juxtaposition of.
It's like he's making this guy make a choice that his life depends on.
Because he's never done that. This is the most.
Never done that.
Yeah. I like that. The most important decision you're ever going to make.
Even though it's like completely random, it is a choice, and his life depends on making the right choice.
Yeah, he's never made a choice with that much skin in the game. And of course, Chigurh makes those choices all the time.
All right. It's funny. Like, we haven't gotten much of the sheriff who
we haven't even seen it. I don't think we've seen him.
We haven't seen him once
we've
since we've only heard the opening monologue, and we have no context for that. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So Llewellyn basically tells Carla Jean that after that whole chase scene, he goes back and he's like, you got to go to Odessa. And I was like, why Ukraine? Is this Ukraine propaganda?
Yeah. I'm sure they just like put it into the movie to get us to like support more military spending.
Odessa, Texas. And we get Chigurh out at the scene of the shootout. And he's there observing it with a couple of other guys who we don't really know, we just know these guys are higher up in the drug deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have no clue what's going on.
Yeah. And so Chigurh pulls the VIN number from Llewellyn's truck and then just kills the other two guys. for no reason, I guess. I was reading maybe what's pissed Chigurh off is that the main drug dealer guy, who's the guy in the office, has hired multiple people to retrieve his drugs, and that pisses him off.
And gave them the transponders.
That's right, yeah.
So now he has a transponder. Yeah. Now, we don't know anything about the transponder.
No,
or
cool.
who these people are or why he's killed them, but you kind of get the sense that it's probably for tracking purposes, but it's showing nothing now.
Right.
And I guess, seems like you have to be pretty close to it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not like a GPS. This was pre-GPS.
It's a weird device in that sense. Right?
I know, it really is.
It's like you have to be within 2 football fields from it.
Super close. And, it does play this interesting role sonically to build suspense, and it's like, I don't even know if that technology is a real thing. And so here's where we get Tommy Lee Jones for the first time, the sheriff, and we see Mr. W for the first time.
Garrett Dillahunt. So good.
So good.
I think the first time I saw this movie, I didn't know who that was.
I have of course, had no idea. And so they're just trying to figure out what went on. Interesting scene. There, you get the sense that he's a very competent sheriff, right? By the way he's analyzing the scene. He knows immediately it's a 1977 Ford, and they find Llewellyn's car, and he recognizes Llewellyn's car immediately.
I think Wendell also notes that these are 2 separate events.
Right.
They are good, and yet throughout the whole movie, always one step behind what's going on. They don't accomplish anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. I hadn't thought of it that way. All right, so we get Chigurh finds Llewellyn's trailer, right, which, as you just said, they would have been there, but they're not.
Yeah.
And he picks up some bills, which gives him some critical information, and phone bill. Weirdly drinks milk, a very villainous thing to do, to pull out the milk from the fridge and just start drinking it.
And then the sheriff does the same thing.
Sheriff does the same thing, yeah. We get a great scene with that receptionist that he asks where Llewellyn is. She won't give out any information.
I love this scene. She's the one person that bests Chigurh. She gets the better of Chigurh in the whole movie.
Huh.
She just stares him down and will not tell him where Moss is. She wins. You can tell he's pissed, but then he hears the flushing of a toilet, and then he's like, fuck it.
Right.
And he gets out. Nobody else does that to Chigurh.
That's true. I like that. From that, we learn a little bit. He's not just an indiscriminate killer. He's not. It's hard to know what will set him off and what won't. You almost get the feel. I know that he left because he heard someone else there, but you almost get the feeling that he respected her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way that he didn't respect the Texaco guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because she took a stand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
she's like, I'm sorry, I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. She also looks great, by the way. Her hairdo. It's perfect.
This is why, and I used to be one of the people who complained about the Coen brothers being condescending towards their characters, but I don't think, you see a character like that, they're not being condescending.
I know, that's what I was trying to say, where I used to think the same. I thought in Fargo they were being mocking.
Yeah.
And I don't think so. I think they want to find interesting human beings from all kinds of walks of life. And they do, and they find these amazing character actors, and they give them these amazing characters to play, and they are all scene stealing, in their own way. And if I feel at this point, like if I were laughing at these characters, I would be the asshole.
You're telling on yourself,
yeah.
People who,
right?
Although I don't say that.
Just like you don't say "steal, man," but you've been saying it all the time. Okay, so Llewellyn puts his wife on a bus, I guess to Odessa or to her mother's. Sheriff gets to the trailer, like you said, they're always just one step behind. Wendell, when it hits him, when Tommy Lee points out that the bottle of milk is still sweating, he's like, "Oh, we just missed him!" He has this
aggravating. So it's aggravating, he keeps saying, and he's like, all right, we're going to put out an all points bulletin or whatever. And he's like, find somebody who just drank milk. Like,
for who? Yeah. We have nothing. And, the sheriff never sees Chigurh. So he really doesn't know what to call in. So Llewellyn goes in the opposite direction.
Why does he go to Del Rio?
I don't know. All I could figure is that
we see that on the phone bill.
Yeah.
That's, as far as I know, the only connection.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I think it's because he wants to buy. Yeah, I have it in my notes. He wants to buy a truck from his friend Roberto, who is in Del Rio.
That's right.
Yeah, and we hear Roberto's voicemail. He's like, "Hey, you reached Roberto. This is my Mexican accent." Yeah, so he checks into a hotel in Del Rio, and he finds a vent. He's very clever, this Llewellyn.
The procedural aspect of this movie is really fun.
Yeah, it really
totally.
is. So there's one scene when Chigurh is driving to Del Rio where he shoots is it a pigeon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some kind of blackbird.
Some kind of blackbird. And he misses. And I don't know what it's trying to say. But obviously it's included for a reason.
It's a callback, I think, to Raising Arizona, where, the biker from hell is like shoots at little animals for no reason. And there are a couple, like the scene at the Texaco station is very Raising Arizona too. Like, so I think it's that. I think it's, I don't know, maybe Western bad guy trope to be cruel to animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love that the bird gets away.
Yeah, me too. And maybe it shows that Chigurh's heart really wasn't in it. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy to randomly shoot a bird.
It's very weird to know what he is. And in fact, the difficulty that I have in figuring out what Chigurh's motivations are and what kind of a killer he is are kind of what feed into the thought, like maybe he is just the Leviathan of the sheriff's imagination.
Or some opaque new form of evil that we can't understand, which I think the movie is pretty effective at suggesting that too. Like, he has principles, but what they are might not be something that like a normal person can understand.
Yeah, you can't work it out. But the Woody Harrelson character, which we meet now,
and I love Woody Harrelson.
So I love that. Woody Harrelson is hired by the drug. Who's
the American side of this drug deal.
Of the drug deal, yeah, is hired.
This guy thinks Chigurh is a loose cannon, and so he sends like the next best best thing.
Yeah. Who is very un-Chigurh-like, even though he's obviously a skilled killer. He's like the opposite.
He's very personable. He's like empathetic. You get the sense.
And weirdly, he admits that he is not principled in the same way that Chigurh is.
Yeah.
He doesn't really follow the rules. Like, he is doing it for the money.
Yeah. I'm killing people for money, and I'm good at that.
All right. So here we get Chigurh basically in a shootout with Llewellyn.
Not with Llewellyn.
Oh, no, sorry.
The Mexicans are just already there when Chigurh gets there.
Yeah.
And he kills the Mexicans.
He kills the Mexicans. He finds Llewellyn gets spooked. And so he gets the room on the other side. And that's when Chigurh finds it and kills the Mexicans. In a very Scarface scene, knocks off the three Mexicans who were there waiting, including one behind the shower curtain in a very cool scene. You see like the blood splatter on the shower curtain from behind.
He closes the curtain, which is funny because it's almost like he wants to spare himself the sight of another like dead body.
Maybe, yeah. But he's also a little bit obsessive about not getting blood on him.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. That's why he keeps removing his boots.
Takes off his socks and
So Llewellyn gets away here.
Yeah, Llewellyn gets away, hitchhikes away.
Yeah.
And goes to another hotel, the Eagle Pass Hotel. And here's where he figures out as he's sitting on his bed in the dark, like, wait a second, like, how could they have found me that easily? And he digs through the briefcase and finds that there's a tracer there. But can't get away in time because Chigurh has already found him. And we get a really nice tense scene where Chigurh is clearly coming up to the room to look for him. and he's there in the dark cocking his gun. Chigurh blows the lock off with his little compressed air cattle gun.
Into him.
Into him. It knocks right into him, and he fires, probably why he didn't hit him dead on.
This is a great scene. This is such a good shootout scene. Like him then diving out the window with the money, coming back into the hotel, and then going out onto the street. Like all of that is just so fucking good. And you get like there's just like cool stuff of he sees where Chigurh is with the reflection on the store window. Like it's awesome.
And he injures Chigurh here. But one thing in this scene that I want to ask you, as he's driving and trying to get away from Chigurh, this is what really makes Chigurh seem like he has superpowers.
Yeah.
Chigurh is literally shooting like sniper level shots into the car as it's riding away, which just doesn't seem like he had a weapon that could even do that. Like he's carrying around a shotgun with a silencer on it. That's blasting pellets, but he's just knocking all these bullets, kills the driver of the car
instantly. It's a very he gets into the car. He's like, I ain't gonna hurt you. I need you to drive me on out of here. And the guy's looking at him like, what the fuck is going on? And then all of a sudden his just head is gets blown off by this bullet. And then it's like that choo, choo, choo kind of like,
right.
And you're right. It has this feeling. This is what I mean when it seems soulless and precise. It's like got like this power. There's something cold about it, like the sound of it, the way, like the precision of it. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess it was a shotgun before. Presumably he could also have a rifle though. And we always see him is with that big old silenced shotgun. It does make me think that there is something to the actually the all of the violence that is being committed by multiple people, like drug dealers, and he's personifying the evil with Chigurh. So maybe there were other. It really felt to me like there's somebody else shooting, but it's supposed to be Chigurh. So maybe he's just a badass. And Chigurh is also really hurt at this point,
right.
as we'll see. So like the fact that he can still get off these perfect shots. He doesn't end up getting him, but yeah, that's right. That's totally fair. If you wanted to run that idea that he's a kind of like umbrella, like character for all these other characters.
And he is almost Mexican. He's a Spaniard.
That's right. Although I don't get the sense that the evil is only the Mexicans.
No. It's the world. Yeah,
it's the world right now. Like it's the kids with green hair and bones through their nose.
Which is like, wait, who does that?
On the Flintstones.
Yeah. Chigurh is hurt, and we see him creating a diversion to go in and get some pain meds.
Oh, I love this scene too.
He's just so. Overdoes it, but so calculating. He wants to steal painkillers to help himself. He's going to basically clean the big old wound that he has. And but in order to do it, he basically makes a Molotov cocktail out of a car, blows it up, and with the diversion goes and steals the lidocaine. And I couldn't tell if the other one, like if he was shooting himself up with like morphine after the lidocaine. Yeah.
We've both had that fantasy, right? Blowing up a car, walking into a pharmacy, taking whatever the fuck we want. I mean,
by any means necessary.
Yeah, no, but I love the way that's shot because you get a shot from inside the pharmacy at him, and it's just a normal pharmacy, and then all of a sudden behind him the car explodes. He does not hesitate. He does not break stride. Like everybody starts running out. What the fuck's going on? And he just goes right into the.
It's almost styled like the badasses in an action movie who don't turn around for explosions, except for he's a weird looking guy who's limping over to get some lidocaine.
Exactly. Yeah.
And his little limp, what a good performance here.
Yeah.
We also get the sort of psychopath scenes where he is cleaning himself and almost operating on himself with very little emotional display.
But it's also very body horror-ish. Yeah. Like it's really graphic.
Yeah, he's picking out pieces of shot in from his leg.
Yeah, when he dumps the alcohol onto his.
Yeah, he's irrigating his wound, and you just see
There's a few things like that in the movie. It has a kind of like David Lynch body horror element, Cronenberg. Like every once in a while. I love. Yeah, this whole sequence is just phenomenal. There's so many great like long scenes, like set pieces, but to go right from the Eagle Hotel shootout into this is pretty awesome.
It's awesome. In the meantime, Llewellyn has actually gotten himself to the Mexican border because he's shot through the gut, looks like, and it's just like shows how different things were in 1980. He just basically like gets himself to Mexico by walking across the border, right?
Well, if you want to make this is like prejudiced or anti-Mexican, like the border guard for Mexico is like napping as he walks through, and then like kind of wakes up as he crosses, and he's like,
just doesn't give a fuck.
Like,
To be fair, it was the middle of the night. We also get the scene where he basically pays 3 like.
Right, it goes right into the mariachi. Yeah, like sleeping, napping Mexican border guard, and then like to him waking up to a mariachi band singing to him on the corner of.
So absurd, like very absurd. Like waking up, it's clearly very early in the morning, and mariachi band is just playing for him.
It's not clear. Like, it's hard to take some of these things literally in that sense. Like, why would they just like it's like 7 a.m? Why are they even there? Like, there's not like a good time for making money as a mariachi band, and they're just leaning over him on the sidewalk playing to him.
Yeah. But I
wonder what the words for that are. Did you look that up?
I didn't know. I wasn't paying enough attention.
I bet there's some significance to what they're singing.
Now we get Woody Harrelson's character. I forget the name of him. Do you know the name?
Carson Wells.
Oh, Carson Wells. That's right. In the hospital, he's tracked Llewellyn to the hospital, and he's basically tells him about Chigurh and why he should be worried. And Llewellyn just can't get past the name. He calls him Sugar.
But also, like, this is an interesting scene in terms of Moss to this point. Yeah, he's almost gotten himself killed multiple times, but like he seems like he's kind of maybe equal to this task, given that he's still alive right now. And Carson Wells is like, no, you don't know what you're dealing with here. Like, what do you think he might be on his way to Odessa? And he's like, why Odessa? He's like, oh man, you're in over your head here. Yeah, you're not cut out for this. You don't know what you're facing here. And this is where he also says, he's not like you. He's not even like me. But I think there is this kind of waffling about Moss, whether he's really competent and like some of the tracking stuff that he does, and certainly he gets himself out of a lot of scrapes, but you also get the sense that okay, this is something like the sheriff he's never seen before,
right?
Even
he has no idea. Vietnam. He has no conception of it. You know, greed is a bit of a theme here, like in some of the other Coen brothers noir movies, where he just at some point he can't let go of the idea of having those $2 million are his now. Like there's nothing that's going to stop him, and not even the threat from Woody or the information that this guy's a monster,
and that he might kill
Carla Jean. And you get a couple of these, the 3 kids that he runs into that he pays for a shirt. One of them starts asking for more money for the beer. You see the kids at the end sort of fighting over the who's going to get should they split the money. There is that a little bit of a theme of greed being the downfall of humans
behind all of this. Like, and there's just different levels of it, because the kids at the end are mostly like not greedy, but then all of a sudden, once they have once they have the $100, it's like they didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
But once
they were trying to not, and then once they had it, you're right. Like it's
same with Llewellyn. Like once he had the money, it's like, okay, now I can't give it up. So it's like that's the original sin, is when we forgot to say that he threw the money over on the riverbank,
right on the border.
But Woody Harrelson smart enough to figure out, like, okay, like he probably would have leaned on a pole if he was going to throw it. Like, so I think he kind of found it. We don't know if he accepted the deal that Carson Wells is offering him. Because Carson Wells is saying, like, the only way I'm going to protect you and your wife is if you give me the money. And it cuts there, to before we know, but he is looking for it on the river. Maybe he just deduced that. I think it could go either way.
Oh, that's right. That makes a lot more sense that he might have told him because he's desperate. Because it seems again almost impossible that he would know where to look. Like that's like a very specific place that all of a sudden he's looking.
Except that like he knows that he almost got killed in the right across the river, and now he's here. So it also could be that he figured it out on his own.
Yeah. So Woody's told him, look, this guy can find you. And that's exactly what happens to Woody. Like Chigurh finds him. They have a little philosophical discussion. One of my favorite lines here is when Chigurh has found him and he's sitting right across from him. Woody has to know that this is his last conversation. And he's trying to haggle. And Chigurh says, you should admit your situation. There would be more dignity in it.
And I think Woody Harrelson agrees, but then also wants to live. And I think that's the difference. Like Chigurh will be very happy to risk his life for the whatever principle of dignity he's upholding here. Whereas Woody Harrelson is like, no, you're right. It would be more honorable, but I have to take like the 1 in a 10,000 chance. Like it's a little pathetic that he offers him like $14,000 from an ATM.
Like from an ATM, it really is sad.
But I think he knows there's virtually no chance, but virtually no chance is better than no chance.
And we get kind of again, even though this is like a full on like this is your last conversation, he just gets shot. Like it's not an expect. Like the phone starts ringing and boom, like that's it. And it turns out to be Llewellyn on the phone.
Here's where he says, like, you're going to bring me the money. Like, he doesn't even want to look for the money. That would be beneath him.
Yeah.
No, he's got to bring it to me because of the inconvenience that he's caused. He says to him, like, if you do that, I will spare Carla Jean. Otherwise, she's accountable, same as you. He says, like, I don't know if you care about that, but that's the best deal you're going to get. I won't tell you can save yourself because you can't. So he gives Moss now the chance. And I think he's being sincere here.
Yeah.
I think he's 100% would not kill Carla Jean if he did it, but Moss doesn't. So this is a big choice. This is one of those life or death choices for Moss, but it's not life or death for him. It's life or death for Carla Jean.
Yeah, and I can't blame Llewellyn for not believing him. Like, why would you take the word of like somebody who's just like some fucking killer criminal, right? Like, but he should have listened to what Woody was saying. Like, he has principles, and if he had listened to that, in between, we've seen the sheriff has asked Carla Jean to tell him where Llewellyn is. He says, like, look, I'm your only chance here. Like, I can help you. Just tell me where Llewellyn is. And here's where he tells her a story about the guy who's killing a steer and wrestling with it. And this sort of like crazy story about trying to shoot, the steer turns out not to be dead and he starts going crazy, bucking around, and all he can do is try to shoot him in the head. The bullet ricochets and hits him. And then at the very end, he says, that wouldn't happen nowadays. Nowadays, they have all kinds of modern ways of killing, and he describes the exact gun, and that's what makes me think again that he's created Chigurh in his head, and in his head he has given him this modern way of killing,
more efficient way of killing. It's not like the romantic I'm wrestling the steer, like man versus beast. This is a much colder way.
It's a cold.
I think that's totally right. And then it's funny because like they will undercut anything. Like later when Carla Jean calls the sheriff and he says, that story you said about Charlie, whatever. And he's like, who? And so like it's kind of implied that maybe he made that up, you know?
Right. No, totally. Yeah, like he was trying to make a point and he just created a parable in his head.
Right. But I think that's totally true. That's a really good point, that it's this new modern way of killing.
Yeah.
That
we get an interesting scene where the sheriff is talking to Wendell, and he tells the story about the old people who were tortured to get their checks.
Their social security checks, and they're just like tortured and killed and buried out back, and people didn't even notice. No, he goes, yeah. So he says the only reason they noticed is because an old man run from the premises wearing only a dog collar.
Yeah, and Wendell gives a nervous laugh. So that's all right. I laugh myself sometimes. Ain't a whole lot else you can do.
Here's an interesting thing in the book. So this comes from one of those italicized monologues, separate from the narration of the action of the book. But it's word for word like the same description, except that it's just you hearing it from the sheriff. So he says what it took was the guy with the dog collar, and then says, "That's all right. I laughed myself when I read it." So he's saying that to the reader,
right?
Like, and you do kind of laugh when you read it, like that. It's, but this time, instead of it being Wendell, it's us, and it's very effective.
I love Tommy Lee Jones's delivery of it too, because he's not laughing at all, but he's forgiving us for laughing, but he's just horrified. So we get Llewellyn crossing the border again, getting back into the U.S., going to buy some clothes because he's basically just in his hospital clothes.
These are weird scenes with him and the boot guy.
I know. I kind of like them, and I don't know why.
Yeah. They seem significant. Like, so he calls Carla Jean, says, "Meet me in El Paso. I'm going to give you the money, send you away, and then I'm going to deal with this guy." And there are these weird series of scenes with the mother that
I got the cancer.
Right. Jeez. You don't want to know how many people I know in El Paso? This many people. It's funny because all this is setting up for, going to El Paso, and the Mexicans are on their trail too, and Chigurh, and it's all converging on this, what's called the Desert Inn in El Paso or something. And then we just see the tail end of it. Like, and this is also in the book, like he's already dead.
It's great. I love it. Like, it's jarring, it's anticlimactic, it's disappointing. There is part of you, if you watch the movie in a certain way, Llewellyn is your protagonist.
Yeah.
And it's disheartening the way that they kill him completely off screen. There is, that woman that's hitting on him, she says something like, when she's like, "What are you looking at?" He's like, "I'm looking to see what's coming." And she says, "No one sees that." Yeah. And then he's just dead in the hotel room, like right in the door, and we get the sheriffs on the scene.
Just got there, just a little too late. Like, he literally sees people shooting out of the hotel, but Moss is already dead by then as he pulls up. Yeah. Like, it's this big shootout, and we don't see any of it.
We don't see any of it.
We get a little shot of Moss dead. And then that's the last we see of Moss.
That's it. We just there was no farewell to Moss.
It's like new kind of movie killing,
Yeah. I'm so
happens
confused.
Behind like closed doors, off screen.
I wanted to ask you, in the scene, there's a scene before this where Chigurh goes and confronts the big boss man behind the office and kills him, basically mad that he gave the Mexicans also the transceiver. And then he talks to the accountant and says, did you see me? Like, he's like, "Are you going to kill me?" He's like, "Did you see me?" And then it cuts. Like, are we to believe that he just spared the life? I assume.
Very strange. I took this as another, like, have some fun with this one, viewers. Like, am I a ghost? Because also in close proximity to this scene, the sheriff says, like, is he real to the El Paso guy? Like, or is he a ghost?
Oh, yeah, so good.
There's a lot of ghost-like features of Chigurh.
Yeah.
Like,
if I had to guess emotionally, like, I feel like emotionally Chigurh's not in the mood to kill him.
Yeah.
This is, so as you said, there's a scene with the sheriff, the local sheriff that Tommy Lee Jones is talking to, where this is where they talk about, like, where he says, like, "Oh man, green hair, bones in their noses. Like, what's with this new generation?" And this is also where he says, can you believe it? He just strolls right back into a crime scene. How do you defend against that?
It's like you kind of assume your villains are rational, and
yeah, and if you can't, like, what the hell? How are you supposed to do your job?
Yeah.
Now this is a big scene that I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
When this makes the sheriff go back to the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes in there, we get a shot of Chigurh in the shadows.
Yeah. Like in like a closet or something.
Yeah. And then he opens the door with his gun pulled and nothing.
Yeah. He sits down on the bed.
So
he sees the vent.
Was Chigurh in the room?
Yeah.
I feel like this is once again a little sort of like he went into that room looking for the evil, that the big bad, the evil. The evil was in that room, but maybe he wasn't real. Like maybe he wasn't really there.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Like a few things don't make sense. That he went there at all doesn't make sense because there's nothing for him to really learn from the crime scene. And that Chigurh wouldn't just shoot him if he was really in the room, but it would suffer the indignity of like crawling through a vent. I think like this is a dream maybe triggered by the conversation about him going back. I think it's also like him just reckoning with the fact that he doesn't want to confront this guy. So like when even though he is there, he's very relieved to see the vent open and him. So maybe it's a little bit of a, okay, I got to retire because
even when he was joking about hiding, you remember he's like, I'm hiding behind you to the deputy.
Yeah.
He really is, I think, deeply distressed at confronting the evil. And maybe he's imagining Chigurh waiting in the shadows for him.
Yeah.
It's just a powerful image in his mind.
There's one thing in the book that is not part of the movie at all, which you get a backstory of him being in World War II. Mm-hmm. And he got a Bronze Star for essentially like ditching his unit. And he has never like lived that down. And one of the whole reasons he wanted to do this job is to try to make up for it. And protecting Moss was going to be one way of trying, like maybe making up.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to be a hero. Yeah.
And he gives up on that too. This is very much Cormac McCarthy. Like it's so spare and bleak, even though there's a lot of kind of beauty to it. But ultimately it's like the evil is too much and it's too soulless to really confront unless you're I think his arc is admitting to himself that he's not up for this.
Yeah.
He's overmatched.
And in fact, he goes to his Uncle Ellis and we get a great scene there where he's basically telling him, like, he's like, why are you retiring? And he's like, basically, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm overmatched. Yeah. And he says, I always thought when I was old, God would come into my life. And he's sort of feeling sorry for himself. And I like Ellis is basically like, shut the fuck up. Like, this isn't all about you, kind of. You know, he's kind of tries to snap him back. Tells him it's vanity to think these things.
Yeah, he says, ain't nothing new. This country's hard on people. They ain't waiting on you. That's vanity. And but I do think it's interesting, the thing about God. Like, it's like he's also coming to realize that there's no God.
There's no God, yeah.
And that connects to Chigurh to some degree. Like, you know, it's almost like Chigurh views himself as an agent of a godless universe.
Yeah.
You know?
The deterministic fate somehow.
And with a bit of chance, too. Just blind chance. Yeah.
And, you know, and I can't help but think that this is I've used the words Leviathan or Behemoth before. This is his monster, his version of the Job story is not a theodicy. He's not questioning God. He's now questioning just this cold universe that could have created such a monster.
Yeah. And he just doesn't feel God's presence, though. And so he retires, and he has a great wife. You know, we get the sense. But it's a sense of failure. Yeah.
Yeah, which is this is not your typical protagonist, right? His arc isn't one of redemption. in the end.
Yeah.
He doesn't end up saving the day by getting there just in time and proving that he was still up for the task.
No.
He gets none of that.
Even if he dies in the process, and same with Llewellyn Moss, this is revisionist in a way that Unforgiven is not, right? He does at least kill the Gene Hackman at the end of Unforgiven, even if he loses his soul in the process. But in this, there's just no closure. That's one of the things I think that really makes it distinctive.
Yeah, absolutely. We also, by the way, we get the scene where Carla Jean has buried her mom, who died from the cancer, presumably, and Chigurh is waiting at the house for her when she gets back, and he's just sitting on the sofa, and he says that Llewellyn gave her up. Basically, he had a chance to save you, but he chose the money over you, and she doesn't want to believe it. She says, "No, not like that." But he makes her call the coin flip. And her response, I think, is just the response of sanity. She says, "No, but it's not. Why are you making me do this? I'm not going to call it. It's you who's making the choice to kill me. It's not the coin." She's fighting against, and it's one way of dealing with fate. It's to insist that no matter what, there is still some degree of control over our fates in this universe. And she's not going to play the game.
She's calling him out on his shit. It's no, don't make it seem like the coin is to blame here. You're making this choice. You're doing it. And it throws him off briefly that she does that.
Yeah.
In the book, she does end up they have the same conversation, but she does end up calling it. And it turns out to be she was wrong. But I like the way they do it in the movie because she won't do it. She's taking a stand, and this is something that separates her from some of his other victims. Even though she says some of the same things, you don't have to do this, she also is principled enough not to call the coin.
Yeah.
Although I guess it does. She had a 50% chance.
No,
of
I know.
living.
I mean, it's weird. It's pride. It's pride, and it's almost and maybe it's because she just buried her mom, and she just found out that maybe her husband sold her out. Maybe she's a little bit fuck it.
But I also think she wants him to take responsibility. She's not going to let him spin the narrative that it was the coin and not him that's doing it. And she's willing to sacrifice whatever chance she had to live.
She says, "I ain't going to call it. The coin didn't have no say. The coin don't have no say. It's just you." And he says, "I got here the same way the coin did." So basically, he's trying to absolve himself of the choice too. He views himself as maybe a mechanistic force. Of
a cold, bleak, indifferent universe. Yeah.
And then we get the car accident, which I think so
another bit of randomness.
Yeah, Chigurh escapes and somebody runs a red light, or he's not, and he's not paying attention because he's looking at the kids and riding their bikes behind him, and he gets T-boned by a station wagon, and he's not even mad. He never gets mad. I feel like he's just this is just in a very pragmatic way. I have to deal with the fact that my bone is sticking out of my arm. The kids, of course, are horrified by this. Yeah. They're like, "Mister, your bone is sticking out of your arm." But he's just give you some money, give me your shirt, I'll tie it up and I'll walk away. And
this is the admirable part of Chigurh. He just rolls with whatever is happening.
Yeah, he really does. And he tells the kids, "You didn't see me."
Again, I was already this idea of is he real or is he not? Because that's the last we see of Chigurh. We don't know what happened to him.
I like he's walking. Yeah, he walks away, and that's the last we see. And there's a nice little crossfade cut to the sheriff at the table where he ends the
final
movie
scene
by telling his wife about 2 dreams that he had. I
mean, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about the dreams? His dad.
Yeah, he dreams about his dad carrying fire. Weirdly, I don't have that many thoughts about it.
I was gonna say the same. Yeah, it's in some way like everything about this movie is anticlimax. Yeah. The dreams are as well.
Yeah.
We don't know enough about his relationship with his dad for that to be meaningful.
Yeah, it's unclear what it's trying to say. He even admits dreams are only interesting to the people who had them. I feel like it's just wistfulness that maybe if I could be, because he even says in the dream we're in the olden times. Like if I could be back then, maybe things would be different. And maybe the torch that his father is carrying him will be some sort of wisdom that he goes on ahead and he says, like he was going to go then and get the fire from him. But it's the least interesting. I know that it's almost like cries out to be interpreted, but it is, I think, the least interesting thing to interpret.
And the movie just ends there. And for the first time you see this, like the first time you see the end of the shootout, I was like, what? Has this theater, like, do they have the whole movie? Yeah. And then when this ends,
did they forget
to
flip to the next reel? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember really liking this movie the first time I saw it, but like I didn't know what to make of.
I know
the way this just wraps up is so. It had been kind of a procedural cat and mouse with some philosophical overtones up till about 3/4 of the way in, and then it's just they threw out the rule book.
Yeah. And this is where not having music is especially jarring, because usually you have some musical cue that this is wrapping up.
Yeah.
And we don't have that at all. I like that. So here's what I like about ending with the dreams. It gives a certain vibe to the whole thing. Like this, it's a end cap of like, I don't know, just not mystical isn't the right word, but very dreaminess. Yeah. I like that it ends on that. And describing a dream it's always a little bit weird. And, you obviously can't get into the world of whatever the person was seeing. And he's trying to give us that. And it adds like a touch of not surrealism, but something like that to leave you with.
And also gives you the sense maybe this is more about him than we thought. Maybe
totally.
This is
the first time I saw it, I didn't. The sheriff wasn't the protagonist for me.
Rightly so. Like he does, like we get a lot from Moss's point of view with just intermittent things of the sheriff, who is a epiphenomenon in this movie. Like he gets nothing, he accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The sheriff, a phenomenal sheriff.
He's like, I think that's also why he quits. Like, so he
parallelism.
Right. It doesn't matter if I'm here or not, he is like the Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense, like he's, it kind of closes with a real questioning, I guess, of what's real and what's not, even though I've never been attracted to any kind of, even an interpretation like Chigurh isn't real. I think it's undeniable that there are so many openings for that to be considered as a possibility.
And that's why I like, bringing up The Sixth Sense is it's a good comparison, because in The Sixth Sense, the mystery is that there are rules. Like when you go back and look at the movie, you can tell that nobody but the kid sees Bruce Willis. Sorry, spoilers. Yeah. And that matters. Here, Chigurh clearly has to play a causal role in the scenes as we see them. So in some sense, he's real and true. That they're creating a movie where he might be more symbolic than anything, that they don't have to answer the question really whether he's real or not. It suffices that he is both this huge symbol of whatever it is that the sheriff is feeling about modern evil, rightly or wrongly, and also a pretty cool character in a movie where there's some action scenes.
Yeah. It's perfectly pitched. It's not full on surreal at all. No. In fact, it gets,
you could get high and it might feel that way. Like I think there's a chance that if you watched the movie that way, you might get into that vibe. But
I, as someone who has watched the movie that way, like I think there are certain scenes, like at the end of the shootout with his reflection and there are certain lines that give this kind of surreal. But I think the way it's shot, the only shaky cam is when at the end when he goes to see the hotel, the aftermath of the hotel in El Paso. Yeah. That's the only. Everything else is shot so kind of traditionally
straightforward. And the camera movement when they're moving in on the face, like when in his conversation with Ellis, it's so slow. It's like, to the point of imperceptible, until you realize, his face is much more in the frame than it was.
Yeah, they do that in a bunch of scenes.
Yeah.
Really effective. And, and the Coen brothers can do surreal. Like Barton Fink, at a certain point in that movie, you get the sense you're breaking from reality, but it's shot that way, in a way that I don't think this movie ever is. I do think they felt their goal was to put onto screen the tone and spirit of the novel. And that's like the huge success of it. I think they did that. They don't want to leave any more questions than the novel leaves, or any fewer, I think.
No, I think that's right. It's shown a talent of translating that onto the screen. It makes me want to see them do that more.
I think they only did it one other time in True Grit, which is also a really faithful adaptation of the novel. And that one, I read the novel first and was just like shocked at how, given that there's another movie of True Grit that doesn't do that. It's, I think they can do that when they want to. It's funny that they've, in all their filmography, I think it's pretty much just those two.
Huh. I'll just say the last thing I want to say is Tommy Lee Jones's performance here is, like, to me, phenomenal, and in a way that's so understated. But his face at the end, like, I don't care what he's saying about the dreams as much as I care how he's expressing himself. It's just so good.
And then I woke up. That's the last time.
So good.
I agree. He's great. Javier Bardem is awesome. Down the line.
The Mexican in the suit.
Yeah, you don't often see a Mexican in the suit. They're like, aside from maybe Scorsese, if you just look at the quantity of just movies that they've done, it's like, it's freaking unbelievable.
It's incredible. A world where the Coen brothers never made movies is a world that I don't want to live in.
That's the soulless.
That's the...
All right. Well, we talked forever about this.
And then I woke up.
Join us next time on Very Bad Wizards.
The great boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.